Oh, he just came out and said it.
Of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen?
He knows he
Stephen?
He knows what he just said.
Hey, Stephen, can you hear me? It seemed, Stephen, I apologize. It seems like we're having a technical issue.
Plenary authority. Plenary authority. Remember that. That's what he's claiming. At least now we know that his fear response is freeze. And if you're not sure what plenary means, I gotcha. Complete in every respect. Absolute. Unqualified. No, not that type of unqualified. Though in that case, yes. What little SS Miller is claiming here is that Trump has complete unlimited control over the military to do with it what he pleases. No. And by the way, we need to make sure that this ends up in the hands of all the state's attorneys. They need to know for all their legal battles against the White House that someone from the White House and very high up in the administration is arguing plenary authority. And the funny thing is, he immediately realizes he messed up. This whole technical difficulty thing does not make sense. That's not what happened here. Little SS Miller was talking completely uninterrupted, said a word, and then froze. By the way, if you needed any more confirmation about the brain power behind this hate, if the audio had just cut out, he would have had no idea because he was the one talking. If he started getting a different audio issue, maybe like a weird noise or interference, he would have said that, or at least any normal human being would have said, I'm getting a weird noise. This was little SS Miller realizing immediately that he really stuck his foot in it. He said the quiet part out loud. One commenter even suggested that perhaps he had been rehearsing this argument to roll out at a later date. And I think that that might not be far off. Maybe it wasn't so much rehearsal, but it's clear that this is language that slipped out because that is how he's viewing it and how he's talking about it. They are prepared to claim complete, unlimited authority to do whatever he wants with the military. Wake up. By the way, if you wanted any confirmation of why AI overviews or tech companies are not your friends, when I went to pull up US Code Title 10, which by the way, everyone should download before they try anything sneaky, it was clear people had been looking this up because the top suggested search was US Code Title 10 plenary authority. I clicked to see what people were being served up. And sure enough, in the AI overview, it says that while the US Code does not explicitly use the term plenary authority, instead it defines the authority of the president to call members and units of the National Guard into federal service to suppress rebellion, repel invasion, or execute federal laws, which is a form of broad or plenary power over military forces. And I think it's important that we understand what's happening here because too many people are relying on these AI overviews and ChatGPT, which by the way, you should never go to for factual answers. Plenary does not mean broad. Some people may use it that way, but it means unqualified. Absolute. And by definition, even according to this AI overview, the fact that the powers are defined and limited to specific circumstances makes them not plenary. That qualifies them. Now, can you debate exactly how broad those powers are under those specific circumstances? Sure, and they are. But this is also not the only place in our legal code where these powers are defined or limited. Lastly, by the way, even if we were to just look at this statute, even if he calls the National Guard into federal service to quote unquote quell rebellion, quote, orders for these purposes shall be issued through the governors of these states. And guess what? Governors, while they have to follow federal law, cannot be compelled to follow a presidential order because we have something called the anti-commandeering doctrine. It's part of that little states' rights thing. Basically, the principle is that the federal government cannot take over or commandeer a state government to use it as part of the federal government. Ojo, or oye, as it were. It's called a doctrine because this is Supreme Court interpretation of our Constitution. The idea that commandeering would violate the structure of federalism, which means, and yes, you already see where this is going, that the Supreme Court could in fact decide to walk that back. However, that still doesn't give the president plenary powers over the military. The good news, if you can call it that, is that number one, this isn't surprising that this is their goal. Number two, if attorneys are made aware of this, at least they can start preparing their arguments against this language that's obviously going to start being rolled out as part of some argument or another very soon. The third bit of good news is I figured out what Stephen Miller sounds like. First, what you gotta understand is that because he's trying to come off as tough and he's a widow baby, he's in a perpetual pout when he talks like this. Number two, you gotta understand that he's a California boy, so you gotta place that pout on one of the characters from SNL's The Californians. I'm totally taller than 4'10". Oh, and the last bit of good news is I'm fairly certain he had to go change his pants after that interview.